Okay. No, that's not all. We're not done here. Okay. That may have, that's okay. That was right at an hour. So part 3, finishing this hand. All right, let's get through this hand and try to maybe work through one more before I completely run out of steam. I got an energy drink though, so. This is awesome. This is actually really, this is very beneficial to me, so I appreciate you guys hanging around for this. You know, if we're, oh, okay, perfect. Oh, God, this is very conceptual. So when we said it seems bad if we just check fold the bottom of our range and bet the rest of our range, that all depends on how often we're check folding. So if we're check folding 30% of the time, but we're betting 70% of the time, right? Because that would be what we're doing. That might not be that bad. Like if we bet here, like with everything else, which that could be bad, but let's just like throw in here like 70%. What you know, what's he breaking even with? Every time we check, he bets and we fold, so we lose 30% of the time. So a third of the time we lose. And then if there's 280 in the pot, oh God, this is really exciting stuff. 280 in the pot times, you know, we win 70%, right? Basic EV calc. Calculator. 280 times 0.7. 70%, so we win $1.96 here. Well, sorry. No. We lose 30% of the time. So we get 0, 30%, and kind of technically that's 0 EV, but I'm kind of on board with the idea that folding isn't really 0 EV. If we put a bunch of money in the pot and then fold, it's not 0 EV, which is something that Blah says, which is kind of always intuitively made sense to me. Like if you just go bet, fold every hand, like, you know, yes, that one street may have been 0 EV, but that means that the plays you made on the previous streets were minus EV. If you were going to play that hand in that way, then it was a minus EV line overall. So I think that's the difference between thinking about poker as a one street ordeal versus thinking about it as a 3-4, you know, a 4 street hand. And that's one street versus, you know, 4 street poker. So, you know, 70% of the time we are, you know, betting, 30% of the time we're folding, you know, so what of that 70% of the time, you know, what happens? They are probably, you know, they should be folding with anything worse than this. That would be like them playing unexploitably, and they should be, you know, calling with like some of their draws. But even if they fold everything worse than this, I don't know. Because then we'd need to figure out what their perfect range to get to this spot would be. So we should probably have some different ranges here. You guys still there? Haven't seen any chat. So what we need to really do is, I have no idea. So we bet, we get rid of the bottom of our range, and we're, all right, well, what happens if we, what percent of our range is the top of our range? Let's look at that next. So queens, nines, sixes, queen 9, queen 9, kings, aces, ace queen, king queen. Okay, so that's 5% of our range. Is that the top of our range completely? I mean, 10 jack of clubs would be pretty strong here. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's obviously not really like the top of our range, but aces, kings, queen, ace, queen, king, queen. Blind versus blind, queen jack's pretty strong. I don't know if that falls into the middle or the top of our range. I didn't put it in the middle of our range, so it's got to be the top of our range. So queen jack. Yeah, 10 jack's pretty strong. That's only one combo though, so that's like 0.3%. So that's like 6% overall. So if that's, you know, that is 6% times 35%. No, what did I do last time? I did 6 divided by 35. I'm so bad at this stuff. Okay, so that's 17% of our range. That doesn't make, yeah. So that does make perfect sense. 17% range. So, like, this is interesting. What if, based on the fact that we have 17% of our range is value, 30% of our range is air, if we fold, so if we checked like the middle of our range and we bet all our value and let's say 10% of our air, like 10% of our air range, or even like if, you know, a fourth of our range, so like, you know, whatever, rounding. So if we, you know, bet our air, like let's say we bet our gut shot portion of our air, you know, like 4% of our range. So let's say approximately bet 4% of air range. Bets. What's that do? Is that a reasonable strategy? Calling is going to always be bad, right? Because we're going to almost always have value. So calling down light's going to be pretty bad. And bluffing should be pretty bad. Well, okay, so we want, you know, we want calling to be 0 EV, essentially. And we want bluffing to be 0 EV if we're calling with the middle of our range. But this would be a way to structure it so that our opponent can't just fold, or so that we're not exploitable. So if we only bet our value, our opponent would be correct in just always folding. Right, exactly. We're trying to make it so it doesn't matter what he does. And if we only bet our value hands, it matters what he does, right? Because he can just fold all the time and we're not doing very well. If he just folds all the time when we have value, that's bad. So we want to add in some air to our value betting range. So if we do something, you know, again, exact equilibrium might be more than this. Maybe we have to be bluffing, you know, something like 10% of our air range and 17%, you know, our full value range, along with 10% of our air, and checking the middle of our range. Right, that seems kind of reasonable. So here, when we check call with nines, that's the plan with the middle of our range. You know, 9-8, middle of our range, you know, we check call. So right, exactly. And I think that the portion of our range that we want to be betting, the air portion of our range, should be gut shots, or those, like, you know, backdoor crappy flush draws or something. So when we check call here, this is actually our, the correct equilibrium strategy that we've built. Right, yes. Yeah. So he doesn't know that when we check we're folding. So he can't, okay, perfect. Oh gosh. Sorry, this is like epiphany after epiphany, trying to work this out. So if we said, okay, well, we're just check folding the bottom of our range, that's great, and that sounds really bad. But if we're check calling the bottom of if we're check folding the bottom, like 20% of our range, betting the bottom 10, like part of that 10% of our bottom range, and then check calling with our whole middle range, which is a whole bunch of stuff, that means that he can't exploitably bet against us, right? It doesn't matter if he bets, because enough of the time we're going to have the middle of our range that we want to call. So let's look at what percentage the middle of our range is, since this seems to be working. And I'm actually pretty excited. I'm kind of starting to think I understand some of this. The middle of our range is all our 6X's, and these are going to take a while to find. So all of these, I think we're pretty much in our range. Queen 6 is the top of our range. All the 9s. I think those all made it in. I don't know. Let's see what percentage of our range that ends up looking like. We have 10-6 off. I don't think was in our range, was it? Queen 6, obviously. Well, that's the top of our range again. King 6 off was. Ace 6 off was. These weren't, though, I don't think. Jack 6 off, I don't think that was in our range. Maybe it was, but I don't think it should be. Something like that is the okay. Well, that's the 9s and the 6s. Is there another row of 9 somewhere that I'm missing? 9s, 9. Here we go. Suited 9s. 9-8, 9-7's probably in there. 10-9, Jack 9, King 9, Ace 9. All those obviously. 8-9 off is in there. So that's 12.4% overall. So check this out. This is, oh man, this is looking good. So 12.4% overall, which is going to be, see if I can get this right this time. 12.4 divided by 35% of our range. 35.4%. Okay, so we're check. All right, I'm waiting. I'm not saying that this is necessarily right. I just want to look at these numbers. And I don't think we got to 100% of our range here. 17% of our range, 30% of our range, and 30. So 60. What is this? See if we got anywhere close to our range. So we've got 10 plus 17 plus 35 plus 20. 82%. We're missing something. Yeah, and tracking. Okay. So I think we're probably missing some of like the middle of our range, some of the draws, or some of the draws that were. Oh, you know why? Because we left out like the stuff that we're betting that's not the top of our range. Well, I think we left out flush draws out of the middle of our range. So yeah, so all the straight draws and flush draws. So we put this in the top of our range, but like all these, oops, not those. All these that are clubs, yeah, shoot, darn it, clubs, this takes a while, clubs. Oh, and then 10 jack not of clubs, right? So, oh, 9, 10, all of them. 10 jack that's not clubs, because we put that in the top of our range. 10 jack, like any 10 jack, we could probably continue with. I mean, that's a pretty strong hand. 7, 8. Probably all the 7, 8. 7, 8 offsuit, probably maybe should have gone in our folding range, but I know for right now it's right in there. Yeah, I'm just going to buy Flopzilla and Card Runners EV on the PC. I'll probably just do it today. I don't know. I don't really like it, but it's something I should probably do. So, yeah, now we're talking 15% of our overall range is the middle. I don't know if that's going to get us where we need to be, but we'll say 15.3. This should certainly be closer. What percentage of that is 35? So 15.3 divided by 35. No, that's going to be huge. It's going to be like, yeah, 40. Yeah, that's much. So we're check calling with like 40. What the heck was that? 43%, 44% of our range almost. So 44. That's a lot closer. So clear. So now we're like 10 plus 17 plus 44 plus 20. Close enough. I think that realistically we should maybe be folding a few more hands like pre-flop. I don't think we got 100% 7, 8 in check call range. Do I not? Yeah, I've got 7, 8 in there. Oh, right. Yeah, it could also be in the check fold range. So, yeah, close enough. We'll narrow in on the exact stuff here at some point. But this looks kind of good. We'll need some more, like some Excel and some more advanced poker math tools to really like solve these percentages. But they look kind of close, right? I mean, this doesn't look like a huge leak if this is how we're doing it, because if he bets all the time, if like say we check to him and he's like, okay, this guy, he can't really exploit us by just betting all the time, because of our range we're calling 44%, we're only folding 20%, so we're calling more than we're folding. So it's got to be bad to bet all his air, or it doesn't matter if he bets all his air because we've got enough to call. This might be actually a little bit off. It looks like we're probably check calling too much. Maybe not betting enough. I don't know. We'll have to look into it more later. But looks okay to me. Looks like we're kind of getting there. Let's move on. My throat is, yeah. 44 is like got to be too high. All right. And so 6 on the river. So oops. All right, start thinking about what we need to talk about here. So let's do the same thing now. So the bottom of our range may have just gotten massive, I think. If I had to guess, the bottom of our range is going to be really, really huge on any non-flush, non-straight card. So like this card just turned the bottom of our range into a really big part of our range, which may suggest that on the turn we were check calling too much, right? So if the bottom of our range is now just a massive percentage of our range, which I think it probably is, like this whole range that was the middle of our range, it may be easier to eliminate. Let's talk about the top of our range first. Also, due to card removal, I don't know if we're going to be able to correctly calculate card removal. Right, but yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough to figure out for sure. So if the top of our range is like now any 6, right? It's still, I think, like ace queen, king queen, 9-9, queen 9. Oh, all right. Well, you're catching, I think, what's going to end up being the tail end of it. But thanks for stopping by. This is a little bit different than normal squeeze play, and it's gone a little bit long. That is interesting. Yeah, you're right. 6x was in our check call range. So that's, yeah, I don't know what that means, but it certainly is interesting. I absolutely think we lead for value. Well, again, for value is bluff, blah, blah, blah. I think overall, the value part, the top of our range, is all leading out here. We want the top of our range to exclusively lead out, and then we only call a raise with the even tighter part of the top of our range. So we want to lead out with our, this category I'm making, top of range, is a lead out range. Because there's no, because if we're leading out, he can't exploit us. If we let him check back all his medium hands, then he's getting off, free, right? He can check back all his 9s, he can check back his weak queens, and we're not putting pressure on the middle of his range. So cool. I think we're clear on that. All right, queen 9. Obviously, queen 6. No kidding. Not a lot of those left in the deck. So that's our value range. Am I missing anything? Aces and kings. Yeah. So queen plus. Still pretty good value there. So that's the top of our range. Middle of our range is kind of weird. We obviously have to have a check call range. We're going to have a check fold range. So the top of our range, so the bet range. And then we're probably going to need a bluff range, right? So so some of this is going to be So let's look at how big these ranges are first. These are, let's figure this out. All right, clear. So what's the top of our range? I just covered it up. Hold on. Let me, put it over here. Our bluffing range should be hands that were in our 3-barrel range, not at the top of our range. Right, yeah. Agree. Because sometimes those are going to be value hands, so, well, I mean, and that's okay, I guess, but I'm not sure. I don't know what that all means. Good, really good addition to the conversation. So our top of range. So it's all our sixes. We already kind of talked about that. So let me grab all the sixes that were in our range. Was 8-6 was in there, I think. 7-6 was in there. 8-6 off wasn't. I think we started at like those. All right. He's going to take a little timeout. I took care of it. So the sixes, obviously, these, ace, queen, king, queen, I think we decided still the top of our range. No, I just gave him a timeout, a 6-minute timeout. It's all good. I'm sure he had a valid point relative to the conversation if we had allowed him to get his message across. I don't think Queen Jack is in the top of our range anymore, whereas on the turn it was. I don't think Queen Jack is the top of our range anymore, right? Because like that's kind of become a little too weak to classify as the top of our range. And also, I think it's really important to have a hand like Queen Jack in our calling range, right? We need to leave something in our calling range that isn't just a pure like bluff catcher. We'll see what the math looks like. Is that good? Queens, queen 6. We have both queen 6s. Yep. Queen 9s. Queen 9s. I think those are still in our value range because he's, you know, any. If we bet queen 9 and somebody's folding ace queen, that's like, I don't know if that's a good enough reason, but that seems like it's exploitable. So that looks pretty good. So the top of our, this is kind of interesting. Did the top of our range get bigger? 6-9 suited. Yeah, I got it. So this is 1.5% overall, which, what was, so what do we end up getting here with? We see, it's kind of tough because, well, I guess we got here with everything that we wouldn't have bet. So the only thing that we may not have gotten here with is kind of irrelevant because we don't know what he did, what he would have done on the turn. So it's kind of tough because if we had had the bottom, some of these cards we would have played the turn differently with. Do we I don't know how that changes what we do, because I'm now going to assume that we still have the exact same range of cards on the river. No, hold on. What I'm trying to say is, what is our overall river range? Once we, because we didn't bet with 100% of our range. Wow. Okay, awesome catch. That was a really, really important catch. And that's, I think maybe that was sort of what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking that specifically, but I'm thinking we don't have the same range anymore. And we need to define what our river range is after we bet. So we've got 10% air, we've got 17% value, and we've got, okay, yeah, but we don't have any of these check calls or these check folds. So we only have this portion of our range at this point. And we could have gotten here with a different range, but we didn't. That's not what happened. So what actually happened was we ended up here with this portion of our range. So let's talk about what that portion of our range is, which is not this. This portion of our range is what we bet with. So queens, 9s, yeah, and that's not a very big part of our range since there's only one combo. 6s, queen 9, queen plus. This is interesting. This is going to really change around what was correct on the river and what wasn't, based on this, I think. That was our value range on the turn, so this is what we got here with on the river. Not only that, but, well, yeah, this is it. He didn't raise, so we need to analyze what actually happened. And so that's what we got here with for the top of our range. Now, the bottom range is our gut shots and our air, which we said was a, what do we say? We got here with a 10% air range. Did I not put queen 6 here? Yeah. Queen 6. This down. So that, and so we got here with 27% of our range is how we got to this spot with. So our range is like completely different now. It's we have a bottom of our range from the turn. Some of these are going to go in the middle, and we have the the bottom of our range. Some of these are going to go into the middle and the top, depending on what they were. So the bottom of our range was our gut shots, our ace jacks, and our stuff like that. Now the portion that we were betting were our gut shots, right? So what the heck were those? Yeah. Sorry. So our gut shots on the turn, we had some 10 jacks, the non-club 10 jacks. Those were, no, shoot, those were the middle of our range. So we checked those. What was the bottom of our range that we check called? Or sorry, that we bet. We bet 7, 8 off. 7, 8 suited, but not clubs. We bet, because we check called that, I think. This should be, yeah, this is the range we check. This is the, no, sorry. The range I'm trying to find right now is the range that I bet the turn with that was air. This is, I need to put our air betting range into our river range. So what, okay, so 10-8, 10-8, 10-7. Did we bet those if they were, we didn't bet those if they were clubs though. So we didn't bet those if they were clubs, 10-8, 10-7. Or did we bet those if they were clubs? I thought those went in our check calling range, which now I'm thinking that was bad. Pretty much all our clubs should have been in our betting range, which I think they were. I just don't remember 100%. Like Jack, I remember these. Like a lot of these were in that range. No, we bet them if they were just gut shots. Okay, so these also. Non-club. 10-8 off, did we bet that? I think we just got rid of that, right? No, we should have bet it probably. Percentage of our overall range was this supposed to be? It was 10% overall. So yeah, that's probably it, like 4%. Something like this. Anybody else remember seeing any other hands in that range that we were betting as a bluff on the turn with? I think that's it, unfortunately. Interesting. Yeah, we bet 10% of our air, which was 10% of an overall range, so we may have already picked too many hands. No, it wasn't 10% of our air. It was 30% of our air. It was bet 10% of, shoot. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah. We bet ace X club. Ace 10, ace jack. Ace 8, ace 7. No, we didn't have those. So but were these value or bluffs? No, shoot. These are only clubs. Damn it. Yeah, I'm sure people will watch this and make tons and tons of corrections on it where we were wrong. Okay, so I think I meant 10% of our overall range. Like bet 10%. So it's really like 33% of our air range, but 10% of our range. Bet 10% of range with air. That's what this means. With air. Or as air. I don't know. As air with air. Something like that. That seems about right, because that'd be like 33%. So we're a little bit over 33%. But again, you know, oops, close-ish. So the let's talk about the bottom of the range on the turn. We'll say ace 7 through ace jack clubs minus ace 9, obviously. It's terrible. Terrible way to write that. Jack 8. Jack 7. 10 8. 10 7. 8 7. Suited. 8 7 off. Okay. Something like that, and it's 4% overall. And it was approximately 10% of our range. So now what's interesting is what percentage of our range now is air and bluffs on the river. So we didn't have anything with a 6 in it as our bluff range, and we now of our river range 27%. So nothing got there that was in the bottom of our range. So where's our calculator? So now when we look at our river range, we're in pretty bad shape, I think. Again, you know, given this kind of sloppy scenario that we've built, but I think we've all learned a great deal from. So what I want is 10 divided by 27. 37% of our range is now the bottom of our range. Okay. Everybody tracking on that? That makes sense, right? This bottom portion of our range is actually like almost half of our range, which actually this still doesn't look too bad. Let's say 10% or 17% of 27. 63% of our range is like this top portion. This actually definitely makes sense, right? I mean, it's kind of right. Yeah, we'll kind of So what's not a value hand on the river now? mean, all of these pretty much still are. Maybe king queen isn't. Maybe king queen, and we didn't bet queen jack, so we don't have it. So we need that in our check calling range. Do we move ace queen to our check calling range too? Like, what do we move to our check calling range? Or do we have a check calling range? We should have a check calling range, I think. Because otherwise, well, we need to bet some of our bluffs. We need to bet, you know, we bet the same thing we did on the turn. We bet almost all of our value. Make our betting range lower. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like our check call range on the turn was too big. Yeah. So if we were betting queen jack on the turn and some hands like that, maybe betting like some of our better sixes on the turn, like ace sixes, bet those since we have some more equity with those. Obviously it's kind of, you know, we know that a 6 came on the river, but realistically every 6 probably shouldn't have been in our check call range. We should have had maybe some of them in a check fold range and some of them in a betting range. But it does look like yeah, if our betting range on the turn was a little bigger, we could also, you know, yeah, it's a good point. That, you know, that is why we bet the 9s, which looks like actually this portion of our range. So if we talk about our overall range and where 9-8 fits in it, I think we played 9-8 perfectly. Yeah. I think that it's definitely not a bet here. Well, and actually, wait a minute. What? Oh. Wait a minute. What the heck? Shoot, we just did the... Darn it. How'd you guys let me do that? we just did that wrong. Okay, but right, yeah, I just did all of this as if we had bet the turn. We check called the turn. And I just did all this work as if we had bet the turn. Which actually is probably just as helpful, because now we see you know, what portion of our range maybe should have been played differently. But yeah, nobody caught that. I was doing all the math for as if we bet the turn, and what percentage of our range we get to the river with after betting. And yeah, well, that's fine. Yeah, well, I'll go with that. So hypothetically, yeah, no, yeah, I was talking hypothetically. We'll go with that. So hypothetically, had we bet the turn, we'd end up with this range, and then we could look at the range that, you know, we checked the turn with, and look for holes in it. So no, that's fine. That's fine, because we really are talking about ranges. So the getting to the river with this range that we ended up getting there with is probably a little bit it's not bad. Like, it can't be terrible, because we have mostly value and we have some hands that we can bluff with, and we have like one, or I mean really like one. I mean, maybe we could like check call ace queen, but that seems like it'd be bad. I mean, if you go bet, that's a pretty strong line. Maybe ace queen turns into a bluff catcher at that point. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what we've kind of discovered here is we have enough bluffs. I think we have enough bluffs in our range that we can bluff a small percentage, or whatever percentage we need to be, Yeah, he didn't bet pre-flop. What are you saying nah to? Darn it. What just happened? Okay, we're good. We're still going. Okay, yeah, fair enough. So, well, and it really doesn't matter what his range is. You know, if he wants to call with ace queen and king queen and aces and kings, that's, you know, he can do that, but that shouldn't affect us, right? That doesn't affect us, because the times that he does that, I don't know, we'll make money some other way, or we'll save money when we have, you know, queens versus him in that spot, or something. Yeah, it does matter if he 3-bets, because then well, yeah, we're gonna have a much different range when he 3-bets. Sorry, I'll stop doing that. That's probably annoying. Yep, agreed. So in this spot, I think we get to the river with enough air. You know what I mean? Like we don't have too much. We have enough air. Like, I mean, this spot, 37% of our range is air. That's probably too much air. So I think you're right. What we need, we have enough good hands. We have enough air. We need some more middle of the road hands. We need some more hands that are, you know, check call material. That way we're not being exploited when we check this river. Because we can't bet everything. Like, I don't think having 100% betting range is good. And if we're going to check, we need to have a check call range. If we're going to check some of our air, which we should because we have so much of it, we need to have a portion that we're check calling also. So I think we need to somehow add in, so let me just, let's see here. So we need to bet with this range on turn more. Correct? And we'll say that those hands would be Queen Jack, maybe Ace 9, and maybe like King 9. I mean, that seems weird to. Again, it may be correct. Yeah. I'm gonna go soon too. My voice is wearing out. It seems weird to me to be going bet with King 9 here. That seems strange to me. But it doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that that's not what I'm used to. So it very well could be correct to go bet with King 9 here, based on what we're looking at. Yeah, exactly. So the reason we're betting 9s is so we have a check calling range on the river. And yeah, I agree that looks like it's correct. So we said, Queen Jack, Queen 10, Ace 9, and is there some sort of strong 6 that we like, an Ace 6 maybe? I don't know. That seems really strange because we can't have Ace 6 of clubs. Yeah, this is really interesting stuff, right? Yeah, I haven't either. This is very, very different for me. That we need to bet certain hands on the turn so that we can have a certain options on the river. And I think that's what we're starting to understand about this, is that it is a complete 3-street process. And if we go through this hour, well, honestly, man, we've just spent 2 hours analyzing this one hand that I played in 30 seconds, or 45 seconds. We spent an hour analyzing this. I guarantee that by going through and even trying to understand the types of ways we have to build these ranges, we're going to be better off. And then once we can actually grab, Card Runners EV and some other sort of programs to do the math on this for us, so that we're not trying to dick around with it. Yeah. That last 5 minutes was actually really, really interesting to see how the river range that we end up with is good or bad. How we just built this whole hand on things that pretty much make sense, and we realized that we got to the river with something that's not really going to work for us. And that's why I think I'm glad that you guys kind of convinced me to start at the beginning, because we can see how what we do throughout the hand deviates us from perfect play to the point where there's nothing we can do to make it perfect. right? That's something that was in one of the, I think that was in the last video with Krantz and Blah, where here maybe, I don't know, but he said you get to a point where once you deviate, you're losing, and you can only lose the least amount against somebody playing perfect GTO, game theory optimal. So when we make a mistake on the flop, we can't recover from it. There's nothing we can do to recover from that mistake on the flop. We can only like lose less, or try to minimize our losses. So when we, got to this river, we realized, okay, we need to do, this is what we can do. We can check back this king queen. We can bet some of these as bluffs, and we can bet the rest of our range for value. That's the best we can do. We know what the best possible option we can do once we get here is, but we realize that we screwed up earlier in the hand, which made it so that we don't have the best options on the river. Had we, maybe bet these hands, and I don't know if these are the right ones or not, but, say we had bet these, all of a sudden, this is, cut this out, and, put this in here. Bam. Yeah, we did get there in a bad manner, but I think next time it'll be better. I may do this exact same thing next week, because honestly, this stuff takes a lot of time, and it's really interesting, and I think it helps everybody learn a lot. And if people aren't interested in it, then that's okay. But I think it's going to help me make a lot more money playing poker, and the people that are interested in this, it'll help them too. So yeah, so now we see that, okay, well, if we had done something like this, if we'd gotten here with these hands, not only would this range back up here on the turn look a little better, all right, this would be, lower, and this would be higher. So not only, okay, so this is kind of cool too. Once we make this, like let's say now this, we just added a bunch. So let's say we took away like 10% of these hands. So let's say this is 34%, and this is 27%. Well, what does that let us do? It probably lets us increase this air range a little bit, right? So we can probably, take like, again, this is just rough, but take like 5% off this, add 5% to this. And all of a sudden now we can turn these hands, more of this range into a profitable range because we played that differently. So now instead of these all being, this 30, whatever, I think I just did that wrong. That was 20%, so like 50. So instead of having this big check fold range and this big check call range that may or may not be that great, we can have this bigger betting range and this bigger air range. So we're betting more, and we're check calling a little bit less, and we're folding a little bit less. And that allows us to expand this river range with more things that can't be exploited, that there's nothing he can do about it. We're betting more hands, we're betting more air, we're betting more value, and there's nothing he can do because we're going to play the river perfectly. Again, we're not actually going to play the river perfectly because we don't know how to do it that well, but that's the idea behind this. So, holy crap, this ended up being a 3-hour show. Let me... Yeah. All right, I'm going to start the study group. I'll put it on Facebook. So, yeah, man, we'll see you. I'm just going to end off the video for YouTube's sake here. I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know, I'll try to find an app or something on Facebook, or, I'll start a forum on my website also. And, yeah, so what I'll do is I'll start a forum on unexceptionalrounder.com. It's also rounderuniversity.com now. Got that got that URL. So Rounder University or unexceptionalrounder.com will get you to the site. Go to the forum, sign up, and I'll go ahead and after I upload these, I will today put a forum in there for GTO discussion, I guess. And I want to start a study group that is not Friday nights when Squeeze Play is, but maybe Saturday nights. So that we can once a week meet, talk, go over hands, set it up however we want, and see if we can. I can't do this on my own. Like, I'm just seeing how complicated it is and how in depth it is makes me realize that there's no way I can do it on my own. So I definitely need a group of people that are interested in learning. So, Kirby, if you're able to make it, Ergendale, and I know I'm positive that Rello will want to be there. So that should be enough to at least get started. So, all right, guys, long show. I enjoyed the show. It's probably not the most entertaining one if you guys are just looking for big pots and entertaining talk and parrots and stuff like that. But hopefully you enjoyed it. And until next video, which hopefully I'll put out a couple this week. I know I've been kind of slacking on the videos. I don't know, life stuff. So I will see you guys next week or during the week with some videos. And if you guys have questions on this, post them in the comments. Post lots of questions. Go in the forums and check it out. So until next time, you guys keep on grinding.